Good morning, I'm Gracie Hogarth.
And I'm Tris Turner.
Welcome to the E2 News.
This is the news for the week of Monday, September 15th through Friday, September 19th.
Here is this week's lunch menu.
Monday, mozzarella sticks choice pizza.
Tuesday, soft taco choice ravioli.
Wednesday, chicken and noodles choice baked pork chop.
Thursday, hot dog choice mini sub sandwich.
Friday, lasagna choice chicken nuggets.
The Explorer bookstore will be open this Wednesday during lunch.
And remember, every book costs just $1.50 each.
There is a parent club meeting tonight at 6 o'clock in the library. All parents and teachers are invited.
Thank you for continuing to use the blue containers in our classrooms for recycling.
Remember to recycle all paper except for tissues. Tissues and other ickies go in the trash.
And now it's time for the
Shout out of the week.
Mrs. Worley would like to give a shout out to 4th grader Alicia Bruce and 2nd grader Soraya Jones for receiving a character referral from their bus driver. Great job, girls!
Mrs. Worley would also like to give a shout out to 1st grader Savannah Robertson and Brooklyn Adams for receiving character referrals from their bus drivers. Way to go, girls. Keep up the good work.
Dr. Scott would like to give a shout out to Mrs. Martin and Miss Plummer's classes for spelling out perfect attendance and earning a class popcorn party. Keep up the good work.
Mrs. Lavelle would like to give a shout out to 5th grader Alexis Noble for making great choices and being considerate to others. Great job, Alexis.
And now it's time for Mrs. Womack to do the fish cash drawing for books.
Good morning, Eastside Explorers, and once again, it's time for our fish cash drawing for books. Remember, if your name gets called, come on down to the office and get a certificate that you can use for a free book on Wednesday during lunch. Here we go. I'm going to start with 1st grade. Our first winner from 1st grade, from Mrs. Skelding's class, Yesenia Lopez. From Mrs. Shuck's class, Jamori Holiday. From Mr. Barnett's class, Mariah Warner. Our last winner from 1st grade for this week is from Mrs. Adams' class, and it's Gavin Davis. Come on down and get a certificate. 2nd grade, from Mrs. Miller's class, Skylar Ansel. From Mrs. Short's class, you got this from Mrs. Henderson, Lacey Doan. Come on down and get a certificate. From Mrs. Weitzel's class, Heath Halsell. And our last winner from 2nd grade for this week is from Mrs. Weitzel's class again, and it is Owen Cook. Come on down and get a certificate. Reach over here for 3rd grade. From Mrs. Sanders' class, Reese Utt. From Mrs. Stanley's class, Aiden Lucky. Let's see, from Mrs. Stanley's class, Braden Lewis. And I'll get another 3rd grader, which is our last one for this week, from Mrs. Shaw's class, Karamaya Hawes. Come on down and get a certificate. 4th graders, Mrs. Reisinger's class, Allison Reese. From Mrs. Payton's class, Dylan Wilkins. From Mrs. Reisinger's class again, Amanda. Come on down. And our last winner from Mrs. Biggis's class for this 4th grade for this week is Alyssa McGinnis. Come on down and get a certificate. 5th grade, from Mrs. Lavelle's class, Ashlyn Allman. Mrs. Fulton's class, Elisa Kiesling. Miss Plummer's class, Jordan Shryock. And our last winner for this week from 5th grade is from Mrs. Lavelle's class, and it is Alexis Noble. Come on down and get a certificate. And once again, Eastside Explorers, thank you for being proud, positive, and productive.
Have a great week.